All right, we are live. Make sure everything is connected. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you and I can see you. How about
Awesome.
me?
Yes. I think we are good to go. And yeah, happy to be here. Welcome to everyone who is joining in. If you're on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you are in the world, welcome. And maybe give a few seconds and let some folks join in and get going.
Absolutely. Excited to be here and thanks to everybody that's joining in so far.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll get a quick pulse of where folks are from in a bit. Getting to tell us their states and countries and cities. I think that'd be cool.
Right? As Eno and I were just talking about, he's looking all spiffy. I'm looking all comfy because it's still chilly as can be here, freezing
Yeah,
rain and some heavy, nasty winter stuff coming through right now. So it's always fun to learn where people are that I can be jealous of if they're in shorts and a t-shirt.
you know, I mean the exact opposite. I would say it's a consistent 90 here in Lagos, so no
Not bad.
complaints. No complaints at
Yeah,
all.
I could deal with that.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Cool, man. I think we can get going. I'm sure there'll be some folks who join in, but for those who are here, welcome to the webinar of today. This is how to scale your drone business in 2024. My name is Eno Umo from Global Air U. I'm here with Cody from DroneAdair, and we're going to do our intros. But just wanted to say thanks for joining in. No matter how you find out about this webinar. We wanted to, do something to give out some value and to talk about how we're scaling our own drone businesses and really to take some questions from you all as well as, we're all on a similar journey, right? So I think that's the value of today. So appreciate you guys joining in.
Yeah, I already see people that haven't heard us before joining in the chat. Let us know, yeah, where you're from, where you're at,
Yeah,
what city, what state, wherever you are. Would love to hear where everybody's tuning in from today.
definitely. Good stuff. So we'll kind of get into the webinar, but maybe Cole, you want to talk about how this all came together, and then what we're actually talking about today.
Yeah, I think we connected first at Commercial UAV last September in Vegas, which is an awesome conference for anybody that's in the drone industry. There's some really cool technology that's outlined, some great opportunities for networking and being able to ultimately learn what's going on in the industry and what's coming together. And Eno and I had seen Eno's stuff in the past. He's very, very good at LinkedIn. I think is an awesome, tool that you've been able to grow on and scale. And I had recognized him and I kind of went up to him and ultimately made the intro. One thing led to another, and we just kept talking and collaborating. And then, Eno was on a podcast episode that I had here that released last week for our Legacy Liftoff podcast. And we've really just connected a lot over the industry and where it's going and how we can, better help drone pilots, because I think that's and drone companies, right? Be able to, grow and scale in a way that you may not have think about, right? Because a lot of people are either new to the industry or, there's different tips and tricks in the industry that how we can really, you know, be able to tap into new markets. And I think both of our knowledge in the industry is very works together in a lot of different ways. So that's kind of, we were like, hey, we should put something together and provide as much value to anybody that is listening as we can, right? Obviously we've have our own experiences, but also then learning, your guys' experiences in the chats or thoughts, ideas, great this is great, or hey, learn more about this, is always fun to know as well. So I think that's what we're here to do. And, kind of some key topics that we're going to go through today. I know if you want to go into that little bit of a intro of what we'll cover then today,
Yep.
hopefully at the end of it, aside from the Q&A, you'll have a good understanding of some areas that might be a way for you to take a look at more and understand really how to build your business for 2024.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I know we were talking about, are we going to put out there? We talked specifically about, things that my audience, are always looking for, the type of information that they're looking for, your audience, the type of information that they're looking for as well. And it was sort of like, we're past the very beginner level stage, right? Of course, there's always a way to go back and build the foundation, but it's more like, all right, if we have a business going or we have an idea going, what is that process to scale? Like, what does it take to scale a drone business? And, like I mentioned all the time, there's just not a lot of information out there that talks about that, right? The business side of things. So that's, what we're focused on. That's what we're here today. And ready, excited to dive in. So, I know the steps that we kind of outlined, and we'll each be kind of trading back and forth on how we're explaining these. But really, what we've talked about was it coming down to 4 steps. And first step is, evaluating your ability to scale, sort of doing like an audit on where your business is, your abilities, your personal branding, right? All those steps, and sort of like a checklist that goes into, becoming a commodity, like literally, as a personal brand. Step 2, your ability to develop strategic partnerships. Cody just mentioned how we met at, Commercial UAV, and we didn't even know what a partnership looked like, but now, we have concrete, ways and strategies that we're talking about just from, developing a relationship. 3 is a big one, delegating tasks and time management. I know for sure growing the business, as you can't do everything, right? And knowing when to hand off different tasks, is very important. Juggling, do I pay for this? Do I do it myself? I know that's always, a task there. So we'll talk some tips on that. And then step 4 is automating, right? It's 2024 now. Everyone is talking about, AI, implementing, how do we take things to the next level, really streamline, our business model. And so we'll have some thoughts and ideas on that. We, of course, need your questions. So, I see the chat is already a bit active. So definitely send us your questions at any point. But we will spend some time at the end for that as well, and then talk about, how to connect with this and next steps from there. Awesome. So just quick bio and introduction. Some of you all have seen me, but for those who are just joining into one of our webinars, again, my name is Eno Umo, originally born in Baltimore, Maryland, currently in Lagos, Nigeria. And we started Global Air Media back in 2015. And, really it was a spark that came from a trip to Nigeria where I saw a drone being used for an outdoor event. I was hooked, from there. Once I found out it was actually a business that people were doing, came back to the States, and all the industries that were using industries, really, that was my tie right there. So decided to leave everything behind. I was in a construction and project management background. So I had a little bit of experience, putting together bids and proposals, and I felt, confident, jumping over. So we started doing commercial work for a number of years. And then we eventually opened up a nonprofit training academy, focused on youth and STEM and getting them to understand, how to use drones. Eventually that led to us partnering with the U.S. State Department. And, now we've been able to do grants and STEM programs using drones in 8 different countries now. Personally trained over 18,000 students, worldwide. And, this is all culminated from using drones and the places that it can take you and the stories and things that can develop. It's really impactful. So this has all, of course, led to now being chairman of the African Drone Forum, something I'm really happy and proud about. And essentially, it's the biggest network of African drone professionals, on the continent. So lots of good stuff happening. And this all started from an idea, right? We're, about 9 years, in the game at this point, but we had to start somewhere. And like I say all the time, the most successful people, they've literally just been doing it the longest. There's no secret sauce. There's no, magic to it. It's literally you've just been, chugging away for the longest time. So yeah, happy to be here with you all today.
Love it. Thanks, Eno. I even always love hearing more about it too. It learn something new every time. The 18,000, did not know that. That's awesome. So yeah, a little bit more about myself. So I actually saw someone in the comments there, Jake Dixon, UW alumni in the house. That's awesome. So that's actually where I went to college as well. So back in the day, I had worked for a drone startup that was more around the agricultural space. And I was in charge of kind of doing the market research for, how drones were going to be used, what were they going to be used for, what kind of industries were going to start adopting drone technology. And kind of, it really blew my mind, more than a decade ago, where drones could already help, but where in the future drones are going to really take off, and ultimately become so critical of a tool in so many industries that I was fascinated by it. I didn't start in the drone industry right after. I worked for a tech sales company. I did really well, but I did not enjoy it. I was not passionate about it. I ultimately knew that I wanted to be in the drone industry, but I didn't know necessarily how to attack that and how to start something. But after quitting my job, anybody that's heard my story or heard a podcast or anything else that I've explained this, I didn't quit necessarily cold turkey and start my business. I started it, but I had some customers lined up. I was doing drone work, but what I did was I actually caddied at Whistling Straits, which is, if anybody knows anything about me, I love golf. I love drones. So I wanted to ultimately use it as a networking opportunity to kind of figure out, what these high level executives, which were often the clientele we got there, were using or thinking about drones. And that's kind of where I grew that. But I started the company Midwest Aerial Productions, MAP, as we like to call it, back in 2017. And that was very, very localized commercial drone services. It started off that way. Non-typical path that I would suggest or see successful drone pilots doing these days of, not niching down. I did not niche down whatsoever. I kind of dove into a ton of different service offerings to kind of learn and figure out the industry. And by doing that, I realized that there was a bigger opportunity for us to, take a different approach to the brokerage, network type model out there that you saw, in the market at that time. So, we grew a pilot network of over 6,500 pilots across the United States, allowing to, us with our 150 plus clients, we were able to find the right pilot for their specific needs and their job, and more of a hands-on tailored approach, right? Rather than just you click accept first, you get the job, or, you subscribe to the lowest bid mentality, which ultimately is not beneficial for the pilots nor the clients. But kind of through that and building that and scaling it, found a bigger problem in the industry of how drone pilots connect with work, how companies find and locate and manage their pilot networks and their data. And that's ultimately where I created the company DroneAdair back in 2020. And that's where we are today, working on that and helping as many pilots grow and scale their business, as well as then companies a way to facilitate, and foster reoccurring relationships with drone pilots.
Awesome. Yeah. And, a lot of things that we talk about, revolve around that evolution as a drone pilot, right? Not even as a drone pilot, as a drone professional, right? So, before we get in maybe to the slides, I mean, can you touch maybe on like what went into that decision to pivot, right? Because it's a tough choice to say, you know what, I've been trying this for so long. What went into saying, you know what, I'm just going to start a new brand and go that route?
Yeah, I mean, we've had probably 5 or 6 pivots, honestly, since I
Mhm.
started MAP back in
Yeah.
2017. The pivot for being a brokerage model was we were getting clients all across the United States that needed qualified pilots. One, it was
Mhm.
then I'm not going to travel to all these places, and I know that there's so many amazing drone professionals out there that can provide a superior service at a cost that they deserve, as well as then that the clients can afford without paying for travel and paying for all these other additional add-ons that we might not need, right,
Yeah.
to fulfill a job. So that pivot was very evident just based off of client requests and needs, and being able to understand what really success looked like to them. But
Mhm.
for pivoting into DroneAdair, it was man, I think I've spoke with over 2,000 drone pilots in the last 5 to 6 years. And it
Mhm.
was just more so learning what really they could use from being successful, and getting more clients, getting more leads, and then automating as well as their business with their current clients, prospective clients. So it was something that really just by talking to pilots, and then also selfishly myself, I was like, man, I wish I had this back when I started
Yeah.
my drone company. It was like, this is something that I wanted to build. I wanted to get out there and provide it as a resource to other people that maybe not able to build it themselves, because it's never developed a software up until this point. And I'm
Yeah.
not doing the development, but I have a team for that. But it's a journey, and I think that I'm excited for what we've built so far today. And I think that's just in general, right? Is like viewing what is in front of you. There's gonna
Mhm.
be, you have to pivot in
Yeah.
any industry to be
Yeah.
successful. So kind of learning and taking what's in front of you and acting on it, right?
Yeah. And it's like that the fundamental aspect of doing research, right? A lot of times we kind of jump into the drone business because the drone is, the hot item, and we know that, as soon as we get to part 107, we're just gonna contact a lot of people and get some jobs. But if you are starting from, interviewing 10 construction superintendents, or even if it's, real estate that you're getting to at first, really understand the problems that they need, right? Then you can tailor your product or service, around that. And, very similar to what happened to us, we were, of course, around 2020 doing all of our trainings in person. And of course, once COVID came, we had to pivot totally to, doing online. But I looked around and I said, there's a lot of training academies that talk about the 107. It's not a whole lot talking about biz dev, how to market your drone company, how to generate leads as well. So that was where I decided to focus. I said, well, am I going to go start another, and be in like a competitive market where I can just be in sort of like a blue ocean, there. So it's, identifying the need and then pivoting, to there. So good stuff. So yeah, we can get into, step 1 through 4. Again, this is our, our steps to growing and scaling your drone business, in 2024. But step 1 really starts with, again, a foundational principle, just evaluating your ability to scale, and your scaling potential. This starts with a number of aspects, but first is, auditing your equipment, and being realistic about the equipment you have now, the equipment you have the ability to get, let's say in the next 6 months to a year. And maybe there's equipment that's going to take, some longer time than that, right? But being, very transparent about what you're able to do, at this point in time. Identifying, gaps in future investment needs, for those advanced capabilities. So something like we did, of course, we started out with a Phantom, and at one point we were able to buy, the Inspire and some of these drones that we had to literally save up, time and energy and money for, over time. But yeah, you can get to that point by being consistent. Assess your time commitment, and your ability to scale, and really have managing your expectations, right? Are you working in this full time, right? That gives you more ability and time to dedicate to strategy, or is this a part-time venture where your time is already limited, right? We all have lives. We all have to take care of family. We all have to, do the necessary things. So those hours that you have in a day, what are you able to accomplish, right? And being, again, just, understanding that your expectations have to be, managed on that level. Aligning your business goals with your available time. One of the things that we're going to talk about with time management is just scheduling time for certain tasks, right? Really the important tasks that need to be done. Something that I do every day that's helped, my content is it's on my calendar, right? When I wake up, there's a specific time for me to write content, for that day, or maybe it's the following day, but there's always, time set aside, for certain tasks. Experience versus quality, of course, evaluating your skill and quality of your services, and really be critical on yourself, right? We don't, and this is, I know could be a tricky subject, because we also don't want to, have the perfectionist attitude where we're not doing anything or not putting out anything because it's not where we want to be. But of course, when you're delivering a service to a client, really be critical on the deliverables that you're, giving, and make sure it's up to that highest quality standard. And then something that's really important, of course, is always learning. The Part 107 is not enough to get ahead in this industry. You need to go deeper. You need to understand, a really niche skill and ability that makes you unique as a pilot, right? If you look around, if you have 10 pilots, if you have 10 drone businesses lined up, and you can't identify what makes you unique, then you need to go back to the drawing board, right? And you need to figure out what is going to be, kind of our selling point. Cody, you got some things there?
I completely agree. It's managing your time is critical. I think I've done something like the calendar, like you mentioned before, is I will block off like everything in my calendar and timing. And I've also, just to take that even one step further, I integrate a calendar link into my signature on my email. If people want to book me, I make sure that they can't book out a certain time. Like initially it was like, all right, they can book anytime. I'll be like, I just got a meeting in 15 minutes. Like, I can't do that. Like, so, make sure they can only book like 4 hours or 5 hours, whatever it is, or a day in advance, stuff like that. But keeping organized, I will even go to it. Like, if I have a meeting in person somewhere, I will actually block off in my calendar travel time for me to get there. So I know that I have enough time to get to and from meetings as well. But I also use that time, quite honestly, to make calls while I'm driving. Most of the time, if I'm not listening to music or a podcast while I'm driving, I'm on the phone following up with either my team or customers or anyone else that, I need to make time for or to communicate with. I'm a big on the phone guy. So if any of you have talked to me or have that same background of, selling and cold calling, it's just something that I love doing I'd rather talk to people than email. So it's something I always make time for. But I think a lot of good stuff there. It's just kind of evaluating where you're at. A lot of this stuff can be used beginner to intermediate to more even advanced, right? Of understanding where you are at.
Exactly. And, I think, as you mentioned, it's kind of taking control of your schedule, right? It's easy to, leave it open and say, hey, book whenever you want, but being very deliberate about your time, right? I know now what I do is I don't even go the back and forth like, oh, let me know when you're available. I just send my link, just book the time, because by the time we go back and forth and do it, we're going to lose a day or two. And then, so here's the link, schedule it, and blocking off time for deep work, and just control your schedule, as much as you can, for sure. Some of these other points on step one, understanding the market, right? Depending on where you are, local, regional demands, you have to align yourself, and again, manage your expectations for the niche or the industry that you're targeting. The industries in Miami are different than Wisconsin, right? Especially, come around, winter time and all the different, natural resources in both of those places. So, keep those things in mind. And again, identify the niche and the customer segments that you can effectively serve. We talk a lot about having a customer avatar, really pinpoint who that specific person, that you're marketing to. What is their typical age, right? What do they call themselves? What is the title? What position are they in? What problems do they face, on a day-to-day basis? Once you really start to like personify that person, it makes making content much easier. Your marketing materials are laser targeted. Your website, they're all laser targeted on that one, person, and that will literally transform, how you do your marketing. Personal branding. We could do a whole session, on this, the importance of personal branding. But look, the days gone are the days where you could just kind of be behind the brand, right? And no one's saying you have to be producing high quality YouTube videos every day, but you have to be doing something, right? Emails, writing a blog, something, right? I think statistically they say 90% of people on the internet are just lurking. About 9% actually occasionally create, some sort of content. Only 1% of all active internet users create consistent content, right? That's your competition. Like there, you may think there's a flurry of content everywhere, but when you find your audience, and you come in like with a unique message, you can definitely absolutely grow. So personal branding, very, very important. And then lastly, just, competition, right? Be aware of who else is out there. At one point, I knew that this program was very unique, our ability to work with drone entrepreneurs, through our business coaching. But then I said, this can't be the only one, out there. Sure enough, started to look around, dig around, and there are a few, that are trying to do the same thing. Not, exactly what we're doing, right? I've been able to identify what uniquely sets us apart. But yeah, you always have to be aware of, your competition for sure. So.
Awesome. Create over consume, right? That's based on that's a goal for me. I think, for sure this year is being able to create more content than the content I consume, which is tougher said than done. But I think once you do it and you actually put it out there, it's definitely helpful for you to kind of be able to strategically grow. But yeah, speaking of strategic, this is kind of our step 2 in our webinar today, being able to have the ability to develop strategic partnerships, networking, which all comes down to scaling, right? And scaling and growing your business. There's a book that I read recently. It's called Sell More Faster by Amos Schwartzfarb. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. But he outlines one of these tools and frameworks that I really, really loved. Obviously, he doesn't necessarily niche it down to the drone industry, which I will do today. But it's called the WW3 method. And what he kind of allows you to do is think of the 3 W's in your business when you're looking at strategic partnerships and how you can be able to grow, right? And that first one is the why. So before you can even think about anything else, what you should do is sit down and really understand and evaluate, why would strategic partnerships be important to you? right? Is it more business and revenue? Obviously, that's number one on the list because it's probably the first one that you're going to think of and the biggest one that you're going to be like, well, obviously, I would love to get more business and more revenue to be able to grow and invest in areas of my business. But really dig deep into what would more business and revenue provide you, right? Would it provide you the ability to scale your team? Would it provide you the ability to invest in equipment or training or, going to conferences, things like that? And then you can kind of understand really the motivations behind each one of these tasks, right? Brand building obviously goes into a little bit more on what Eno was talking about before, right? But are you doing it to tap into a new audience that you may not have had before? Just like kind of this webinar, right? Eno has a group of people that, he's connected with and as well as for myself. Something that ultimately, we're tapping into an audience that may not have any experience or been introduced to what we, our viewpoints and our thoughts and ideas as well. But are you getting that brand authority, right, from a strategic partner or a company, right, that their audience already trusts their brand, they already trust what they put out there. So you can really then sell easier into maybe an audience or a group of people that you may not have been able to before. And also then build that relationship and that brand, and you're getting yourself out there a little bit more than what you would if you were just organically doing it through yourself. I think more than anything too, there's strategic partnerships. There's a huge area of operational benefits when you're looking to scale, right? Are you removing or adding processes that, might make each other's business run and operate more smoothly? I think this is a huge one because a lot of times when you're looking to scale and you're looking to grow, there's other ways that partnerships can provide you maybe a resource that you may not have upfront, right? Or that you may not be able to bring on internally right off the bat. And it can increase resources, so by partnering with a company or an organization that might have complementary resources to you, you can kind of gain access into maybe new technology or equipment or infrastructure or people that can really then help you scale and create different processes that will be more efficient as you kind of look to fine tune areas of the business as well. Another one that I think is huge is new market expansion, right? You might be necessarily just focused on real estate right now, or construction, or insurance, whatever it is. Not necessarily saying that you can't get into these other industries, right? But if you create a strategic partnership with someone in a different industry that that, hey, I can provide these services that I'm providing this specific industry currently, then you're tapping into a whole new market and industry, and being able to then provide a service offering to those strategic partnerships that they might not have had available to them beforehand, right? You're kind of leveraging existing partner customer base and distribution channels, and you can kind of quickly gain access to more of a larger audience, kind of tapping into that easier and driving sales and brand exposure and everything else that we've also talked about, which ultimately increases your business and your revenue at the end of the day as well. I don't know if you slipped there you go, read my mind. That second W, right inside of this WW3 method is the who. So after you've evaluated the why, which is intrinsically like, why would I do this? Why would the other partnership do this? Now you can kind of look at who, right? Who are you best going to be able to partner with? What type of businesses are you trying to penetrate, right? Are there other companies that already are selling into that industry that you can partner with? So maybe you are a real estate or you're a videographer and you do, a lot of video stuff. Maybe you can partner with real estate photographers that may not do video work, or they don't have drones to do inspections for their customers, or FPV tours, or 360 walkthroughs, whatever it is, right? You're kind of tapping in to their customer base that already trusts them, that ultimately they can provide an additional layer of services and bring you in to their customer base as well. Engineering firms, right? Can you provide them construction inspection work or mapping capabilities, or marketing agencies? Are you able to provide them cinematography with drones or FPV work that they may not have the capabilities in-house, that ultimately they don't want to hire someone internally and train them and everything else that goes around with providing an additional services, and you can just be almost like an extension of their company, right? Local organizations is something that early on, I think I did a lot of local events and going to chamber of commerces to kind of understand what companies are in the area, and industry related groups are awesome to meet and really understand who's out there, what kind of work that they're doing, and just learn from them. I think the biggest thing when you look at a local level and joining these groups or going to these events is you're building relationships, right? You're shaking hands, you're meeting new people. Reciprocity is a real thing, right? You don't go in it selling yourself. Provide value, ask questions, like be genuinely curious about what they do. And there might be a fit, there might not, but who knows? Down the road, they had that one conversation with you and they remember, it's like, oh yeah, Eno does the drone stuff, or he does the drone consulting. Like, oh, let me call Eno. Or like, I have a friend of mine that wanted to get into an industry. It's like, oh, let me check out, Cody or Eno or whatever they're doing. So it doesn't necessarily need to be this right away type of mentality. But you're setting yourself up for future and just putting yourself out there. And that even goes into the branding and continuously putting, your name and services out there as well. And one of the big things that I often find when I talk to pilots too is, and it kind of goes both ways, right? It's like some people don't necessarily want to collaborate and connect with other drone service providers in their area. This is something that I truly love doing and obviously have done a lot of. But there's others that, see it as competition. And it's even in my personal LinkedIn or personal Instagram bio, collaboration over competition, because that's how I've built my business. That's how I've been able to learn from people and understand what works and what doesn't. But when I first started, this was huge for me, because I wasn't necessarily the first drone pilot or drone company in the area, but I was very early on where I connected with other pilots in the area and kind of figured out what they could and couldn't do. I had other equipment that they didn't. So when they had a job that came up that they didn't have the need or the equipment or the knowledge to do, who would they call? Right? They would call someone that they know it locally in the area, that they know can provide a pretty great service for their customers, and is again like an extension of their business. But also it provides, just a point that you can ultimately, people get sick too. It's like people are on vacation, people are out. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they're scaling internally, but they're also brokering out or farming it out to other people in the area. And this goes to nationally too. I mean, there's plenty of other drone networks in the United States and beyond. Some of them obviously have a better stigma in the industry than others. But there are some great ones out there that are paying pilots what they're worth, and giving, the experience and the ability to create recurring relationships with, these companies. So put yourself out there with these other DSPs as well, because you never know when they're going to need some work or anything as well. And then that third W in the WW3 is what? right? What are not only you benefiting, but also the strategic partnership? What are they buying and what are the benefits by partnering, right? Can you add additional services to their business offerings for their clients? Are you removing the need for them to buy additional equipment or train pilots, whether they're internal or external pilots in their company? Or they don't even have any and they haven't even started thinking about it, or they have and they just don't necessarily know where to start, right? You're giving them an easier barrier of entry potentially into a new service or a new market that they haven't with their current clients as well, potentially, right? Ability to scale their business with low overhead, right? They don't necessarily need to spend a ton of money on a program that might not work for them, right? They can test a new partnership or test a new market or service without necessarily spending millions of dollars. I do have a past client that spent millions of dollars training pilots all across the United States, buying them the equipment, training them, getting them Part 107 certified, buying them memory cards, buying them additional batteries, everything that you need to start. And then they scrapped it completely because they ultimately thought that it wasn't worth their time. It wasn't worth the effort they put into it. And then they went completely the other direction and started outsourcing it all because they knew their overhead could be completely significantly lower. Yes, they're making a little bit less margin per job, but for them, their profit margin was astronomically higher, right, at their scale. But ultimately, with all of these, you're also providing peace of mind, right, and expertise where they don't necessarily know where to start. You have some industry knowledge or that you can kind of relate back to their business. And anybody that's been in the industry for a while can probably relate that even today, I think there's a lot of like education, right, of what drones can and can't do and what the technology can and can't do for companies. Even today, when I will meet a stranger, so it's like, oh, I own a couple drone companies. It's like, oh, okay, what? Oh, you take pictures and you fly for video or what? And it's like, yeah, that's kind of for sure. That's what everybody first thinks of, but people don't think of doing thermal inspections for a AC unit that's leaking, right? And finding a heat loss on a roof or mapping a construction site or, volumetrics to understand their stockpile and that type of stuff. So it is a lot of education, but you're providing that expertise as well as then giving them really the additional peace of mind and insight onto what additional components they might need to be successful, right? Software, licenses, insurance, equipment, airspace, all the things that that go into it that they may not, right? So you're taking down a lot of the barriers of them to enter into a new market as well as a new way for them to scale as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think the two biggest things I actually had to write it down to go back over, but it's delayed gratification, right? Planting those seeds, and of course, when we send out that cold email, when we reach out in the DMs, we're expecting the deal to happen, right? But again, managing your expectations, deals take time to develop, right? You have to build a relationship with the person. My father, always says people do business with people they know, right? So you can't expect that email, they're going to get an immediate response and then they're just going to give you all this money. Like, it takes a while, right? You have to build bonding and trust, something that we talk about with the funnel, all the time. And then having the expertise, right? Partners want to also partner with, experts, right? So they look at your website and they see, all these different industries and not a clear focus. They're not going to see you as an expert, right? They want to work with those who are dedicated to that niche, is developing and really understand, speaking the language, right, of that niche, right? That is the advantage of specializing, in a certain area. So yeah, please, your questions are needed. We are looking at the time as well. But yeah, please send us your questions. Yes, this is recorded, and I believe you could always refer back to the same link for the replay, and then I know it's also on YouTube. But we'll send out the the links as well on here. So I just wanted to talk really quickly about time management, and this is definitely something that is a huge issue for myself, for other drone entrepreneurs, and just in general, right? No one is perfect in this area, right? Some people are a bit better when it comes to scheduling and delegating, but this is sort of like an art, right? You have to know how to manage people and tasks and your schedule and your time and do it to a high caliber, right? Every day. That's entrepreneurship, right? That is, and you just, even if you're not in entrepreneurship, right? Just on a regular, day to day, just being a professional, right? You still have to delegate tasks and understand when to do things. But one of the ways that's done is something I've looked a lot and studied a lot over the past couple of years. It's called the Eisenhower matrix, and it's really something that will help you internally understand how to delegate tasks and how to prioritize what you need to do. So what you want to do is just start by making a list of the tasks that you need to accomplish, and then place each of those tasks on one of the quadrants that you see here. We'll go over each one of those: schedule, do, delete, or delegate. And it's also categorized by important, not urgent, and urgent. Um, so urgent tasks are those that require, of course, immediate attention. Client is having, uh, um, an issue, uh, that really we are urgent category, urgent importance. You focus critical in the.
Oh, I think we lost Eno. I'm not sure if you guys are still watching. Can you still see me? Just want to make sure I can see here in the chat if you're able to still see me. I think Eno's video dropped out. It was cutting out there a little bit. Yeah, he was cutting in and out. Okay, awesome. Let me just pull up the presentation, and I will get back to actually presenting there. Just give me 1 second here, and I will pull it back up here in a matter of. All right, can you see my screen now? I'm going to enter full mode now. All right, can everybody see my screen here now? All right, can you tell me in the chat now if you can see my screen that's presenting as well? Can only see me. All right. Sorry about this. I know must have had some difficulties here. All right, let me. Yeah, I think I don't have the hosts here, but let me upload them here quick. So I'm gonna upload them directly here. I'm new to the StreamYard that we're doing because we're streaming on not only LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook as well. So I believe I can pull them up. Oh, looks like Eno might be coming back in here. All right, I think here, there we go. I got the slides back up. So I know Eno was on this screen here while his video is kind of coming back in. Now can everybody see my screen again? Or see the slides, I should say. Just want to make sure we're all good here before I start going into it again. Sorry about that. Okay, awesome. Thanks for all the comments, and we are good. All right. So, back to time management, right? I think, based off of the Eisenhower matrix that Eno kind of alluded to a little bit, it really comes down to the prioritization of really, what is something that you need to do right off the bat. Oh, Eno, can you hear me?
All right. Yes, I can hear you. Can you see me? Hear me?
Well, we spent that entire time trying for me to get the slides back up. So I did just get them back up. So
Nice.
if you want to jump back into where you were, I can control them from here.
Okay.
Or there, you can control them as well. So
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
we'll be
Cool.
good to go
Yeah.
now.
Appreciate holding it down for sure. Had to
We
handle this
got it.
incident. Yeah, awesome. So appreciate that. So just to kind of talk through these tasks, just to give you some examples, important and urgent, right? Those are the tasks, of course, that you want to do. So these are immediate tasks, attention, and are critical to your business. Examples might include, of course, responding to an urgent request from a major client, addressing a major equipment malfunctions. So you want to focus on completing the task in its quadrant to maintain client satisfaction and operational efficiency and integrity. Important, but not urgent, right? So these tasks are crucial for long-term success, but don't require immediate action. So these include things like, developing, new flight skills or taking a course, in a certain, area, researching advanced technology and just, like we just talked about, building relationships with strategic partners. Not an immediate, urgent need, but it's still very important and it should be, scheduled. This is the piece to really, pay attention to. And before I even, touch on this, one of the metrics that's kind of always stuck out to me is this is very loose math, but if you want to, let's say, generate 100K a year from your drone business, your price per hour roughly works out to about $50 an hour, right? Roughly. So that means if you are doing any task that is considered less than $50 an hour, you're not going to get to that mark, right? So that means anything under that mark, you should be delegating to someone. So important, but not urgent. Examples include managing routine administrative work, fielding basic client inquiries, handling non-specialized equipment maintenance, delegate, eliminate, or automate these tasks to focus more on your core business activities. And then lastly, we have not important and not urgent. So these are, things that could get you sidetracked and irrelevant, kind of just, aimless kind of scrolling. Of course, we have balance, right? We all take our time to look through and have a good, laugh sometimes in the day. But yeah, you don't want to be doing that for hours in the day, right? You want to eliminate those things that are not, productive. So, yeah, it's a really good way to kind of streamline, your activities, put them in a certain, quadrant. And we'll get these slides out, especially if you're on either of our email lists. We'll make sure you have copies to this slide as well. But this is one of the, surefire ways to, make sure you're delegating your task well, for sure.
Awesome. So step four is really where we get to, the nuts and the bolts of how we can truly automate our business and get to the point of, and I'm sure a lot of you out there have heard this, right? Is working on your business and not in it, right? If you're constantly working on all the little tasks and little things that may seem tedious, it doesn't allow you to really be able to look at the bigger picture and work on it, and efficiency and scalability, right? It all comes down to those factors when you're looking at the success of your business. So these are kind of the main 5 areas that I always look at when in any real business. But also, I'm going to relate it again back to the drone side of things, because I think it's important, right? Yeah. So number one is customer acquisition, right? There's so many ways out there now that you can automate your lead generation, allowing you to kind of identify potential customer based on predefined criteria, whether they're, work at a certain job, or they're at a certain position, type of person on LinkedIn. I I couldn't I couldn't even count, honestly, how many people I get reached out to by on a weekly basis saying that they can provide leads for me. Because now, again, with the advancement of AI and list building and things like that, there's so many ways to ultimately get customers into you, right? But being able to automate that process, so that's not something that you have to do consistently day in and day out. Because coming from the sales side of things, I was out there cold calling in my previous job, I was out there pounding the pavement, knocking on doors. We had to make 500 phone calls a month, 300 in-person cold calls. It's draining, right? And there's so many tools out there now, between LinkedIn, Google Ads, Sales Navigator, different forms providing value in certain ways that you can get and build these customers that you can acquire a lot more easy. Once you have them though, and you've been able to understand how you can work together, onboarding is a huge thing, because you want to make it as simple as possible for them to not only become a customer, but remain a customer, right? Um, and if you've done this and you've acquired these customers, email campaigns, social media marketing, wherever you've webinars like this, organic, once you've been able to onboard them, I think one of the first things you do is get a digital form or a digital proposal or something that they can sign and accept, you know, very digitally. I know in the past of the days where it was like you had to print it out, sign it, then scan it back to me, okay, we're good to go. Now what do we do? What's next steps? There's tools out there like Zapier. I don't know if you've ever had experience with Zapier or not, but it's an awesome tool that, once these things are put in place, you can improve your processes to ultimately take you out of those business, tasks, and make it less tedious for yourself. So once they sign a contract, it can automatically be then rerouted to them into your CRM as a customer and what that value is. And then a follow-up email to them saying, here's our next steps. Here's an onboarding form for you to get going. Here's a scheduler to schedule our next meeting. Here's a booking page so you can ultimately then book a call or a job or a mission, something like that, where that first step is very succinct. Not that all of a sudden, all right, I signed my contract and you're on vacation and I don't hear from you for a few days or something. It's like clients want to know that, one, you have everything in order and it's a very seamless and easy process, right? So that they can submit certain things that they need as well. Payments is one thing that I know is pretty easy to implement on an automated process these days, right? There's so many tools out there that you can provide an online transaction that's secure and seamless for you to use. So still have, clients out there that I'm sure love to send a check, and hey, we can get away from some of the processing fees out there by doing so as well. But most companies these days will want to have a secure portal that you can ultimately just submit payments and automate that as well. So if it's a monthly recurring, or if it's weekly, or if it's per job, that can all be pretty much set up and distributed and paid on a very seamless, time frame. Nothing worse than tracking down payments from clients that haven't paid you, or trying to get that after the fact. And then the last two, kind of go hand in hand in my opinion, right? Especially with the drone industry and drone technology, data is everything. The drone is really a tool, but what the drone is providing the end customer is really what is the most important to them, right? Whether that's a cloud-based file storage for them to easily access all of the information that can then provide them with automatic updates of when their information or their data is in there, so they can easily access it and download it at any time. Kind of a client portal, as you will, or data center that you've set up that they can log into at any time and see what information is in there, and then that goes to the ongoing client, right? Is being able to provide a superior service, so that if anything ever arises, you can ultimately have that all there, right? I know in the past, in the beginning, I was always be like, all right, yeah, let's check the drives, or where did I upload that? Was that Dropbox? Was that Google Drive? Where was it? Right? Different clients want different things, but if you have a system in place that you have everything organized and it's all there, ultimately saves you by time. They're not having to tell them where it was or locate it and find it. And then they can kind of just do it on their own. But it's also a way for you then to automate the client follow-up, right? If you do have a CRM, you can kind of provide pipelines and move them through the process, but then also implement a feedback form at the end of each one of your jobs, is having them provide feedback to you of what went well, what didn't, what could have you have improved, or what could have they improved. It just shows the end customer as well that you're interested in learning, and learning what also success looks like to them, right? Because at the end of the day, what you think is successful mission or job might not necessarily be the same for them. Review from clients that have worked with you helps with that ongoing recruitment of current customers, and that then just is a revolving cycle around the whole process, and how you can kind of really be able to start to grow it and understand how you can scale by working on and not in your business. I think, overall is just embrace automation, right, in key areas, and kind of be able to transform your business into a well-oiled machine, not kind of allowing you to then work on those strategic initiatives rather than kind of getting bogged down by these tedious tasks.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, so we definitely have some time for Q&A. Yeah, I think another big takeaway is just having that systematic approach. When it comes to how you approach your business. I know in the beginning it's easy it's kind of like run and gun. We just take the jobs as they come. We say yes to everything. But eventually, if you do want it to scale, those systems have to be in place. There's no way you can do everything necessary, to really actually grow the business. There's only a certain number of hours in a day. There's only, so much time that you have to even have that level of focus. Again, just, being committed with your time for sure. So please, if you have some questions, this is the time. Definitely have enjoyed speaking to you all. Someone's asking about the name of the platform for the CRM.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. I think for us on the backside of the business side and kind of all that, there's a lot of different tools out there that you can use. We use HubSpot for a lot of our client and workflows and email sequences, and integrating that with our social and that type of stuff, as well as pipelines for customers and that information. There's other ones like Zoho out there, and it's really just being able to understand which ones out there integrate best with your processes, right? And how you can best ultimately use them, and not just have them there as a tool that isn't set up or anything like that.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. Any questions about what we've gone over? I'm gonna go back and I may have lost some access to the comments. Yeah.
Yeah, Samir's asking for easiest way to connect one-on-one. We can always drop our emails inside the link as well, to provide kind of that. And I'm sure like we talked about before, the scheduler and is always in my email. So once I respond, you can always book a call there. Happy to always connect with people one-on-one, and just talk drones, or understand a little bit more about your business, and show you a demo into DroneAdair as well, or whatever else you'd like to learn about or talk about. Happy to do that as well.
Awesome. We have a question here. What areas of drones do you see potential for the future? It's pretty general question. I mean, there's so much that we can point to. I think the big thing that sticks out to me with that question is, like we're talking about AI, right? What is the automation that's going to be happening? We now have a lot of drone in the box solutions where essentially you don't even have to be on the site. The drone can just be there charging on its own, going out to do the mission and come back to the same box to charge. So that's obviously going to scale a lot. When I see this question, I also think about the UTM and unmanned traffic management system, where essentially we're going to have highways for drones in the sky, and there's of course a way that they have to integrate with the national airspace and their airlines, and the pilots who are flying in the same, a lot of times in the same airspace. So yeah, that's the type of thing that I think about. And yeah, more automation. I think as far as hardware, there's still some innovation out there, but it seems to me that the attention now is on software, right? How do we take the hardware that we develop and come up with new software solutions to help gather more data? That's
Yeah,
comes to mind.
I think anything regarding like BV loss, like beyond visual line of sight missions, things like that. Obviously that's a huge growth opportunity. We're getting more and more waivers that are being submitted and being accepted and whatnot, as that continues to grow as well. But I think aside from what Eno already said, if you're looking to get into a new industry or you're looking to tap into it, I always tell pilots that mapping and surveying is something that I believe is going to be one of the biggest growth opportunities for drone pilots. Because if you look at it right from a global perspective, even there is an endless amount, as much as we have, I should say, of land and property and development going on, whether that's new infrastructure, that's new, being able to develop new areas and things like that will need to be mapped, and on a regular basis in a lot of ways. So I saw one stat that was like globally, it's gonna be like 500 million alone just in the mapping side in the next like 3 to 5 years, right? Which is a huge opportunity for new people that are in the industry getting into mapping as well. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of other areas that we could dive into too, but I think that's one of the bigger ones.
Definitely. Awesome. Yeah, there's definitely been some BV loss approvals. All right, so we have a question from Daniel. I get a lot of questions from folks starting out with LiDAR and thermal payloads, and they're always trying to find the most cost-effective beginner approach that encompasses both the hardware and software solution that offers a deliverable. They also need low-cost training and GIS-based learning with base stations, etc. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Look, one of the things that I talk about a lot is, the ability to start your own specialized training, right? If you have, years of experience and you have questions that are being asked, to you, this is, part of that evolution that we talked about. I literally had no idea I was going to be into training and education when I first started in drones, right? And that's now, all we do. So if you're getting asked a lot about that, then yeah, that could be an opportunity, to offer some sort of training or one-stop shop to, to understand that. But again, it just goes back to that need for specialized learning. And, just because you buy, an M300 or, the latest DJI RTK doesn't qualify you to walk on a construction site, right? It just doesn't. There are, things you have to learn. There are processes you have to fit into, deliverables you have to, make sure, match and are accurate, right? So yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into it, sure. Cool. Looks like that was more of a comment than a question, but yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think for the most part, appreciate everybody coming out here. If we don't have any, what are we at, 112?
Yeah, I think we're good on time.
Make sure to reach out to us if you have anything that comes out, and appreciate you collaborating on this, Eno, and always
Yeah,
connect more. And yeah, if you want to go through that.
absolutely. Yeah, no, just kind of a quick, recap. Scaling your business in 2024 really comes down to 4 things that we've identified. Of course, evaluating your scaling potential, your ability to create strategic partnerships and network on a very high level. We also talked about time management, very key for any business and really professional entrepreneur to scale. You have to again take control of your schedule, and then automating your processes, understanding the tools that are out there that really will help you streamline your processes, your onboarding, your email sequences. Once you get it running to well-oiled machine, it feels good, right? Because there's a lot that goes into it. It is some of these parts can be a bit tedious, but it's very necessary, right? There are no successful companies out there who are not doing these things, right? And more. It really requires that dedicated dedicated strategic approach. So yeah, everything that we discussed here today is absolutely there for you. And as we mentioned before, if you are interested in speaking to us one-on-one, finding out a little bit more about what we do, at Global Air U, we work with drone entrepreneurs and help kind of streamline their business plan, lead gen strategy. We have an in-house graphic design team that can help you with your lead magnet and LinkedIn banners and so forth. So if you are looking for help in those areas, definitely feel free to reach out to me. Just send me a DM, here. I'm very accessible here. We can talk about your drone business, but yeah, happy to give out, valuable information like this. So.
Yeah, I think I know that's why we've connected so much, because like your business at Global Air University is really that first step, right? And like not only first step but continued step of like building a brand and getting yourself out there and understanding how do you acquire customers and how do you grow from the beginning get go. And I think that's where, DroneAdair, we kind of are that next step of like, hey, you have customers, you're looking to scale, right? How do you now again automate those processes? So we kind of built a pilot platform that is two-sided, right? But the pilot side is, it allows you to have a page, a booking page, a platform, a dashboard that can manage all of your clients, all of the information, all of your missions, payments, files transfers, everything kind of in one, that allows you to seamlessly scale and manage and grow. But our enterprise model launches later this year as well. That will then be your non-typical drone marketplace, where we can really help pilots gain reoccurring revenue streams and tap into, customers that hopefully they didn't have access to prior, and being able to give them consistent revenue streams as well. So yeah, feel free, again, same thing Eno said, reach out, LinkedIn DM. You can find me on Instagram, email, whatever it is, reach out. Happy to just talk drones or connect with anybody else that is interested. So thanks for everybody for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you all for joining in, and look forward to doing more of these. We talked about, of course, the importance of content and video, and just connecting with the community. I mean, this is honestly one of my favorite parts, just to answer questions, right? Questions that I know people have. So we really do appreciate this. You all giving us your comments and questions and things you want to hear. So absolutely expect more. Sign up for our email list, right? You'll get the link to this and other resources that we're sending out, your way. So with that, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See you, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, have a good one.